Opinions expressed by talk show hosts or callers on KWRO do not necessarily represent the opinions of the staff and management of Bicoastal Media LLC, its sponsors, subsidiaries, or possibly anyone else on the planet. From high atop the historical hall building in beautiful downtown Coos Bay, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Good afternoon, Coos County, and everyone out there in the surrounding area. This is the Rob Taylor Report, and I'm Rob Taylor. If you're tuning in and you're wondering why Jim Bice isn't on today, is that if you didn't catch the last show about 2 weeks ago, Jim Bice has retired. Now, I don't know all about you, but when my old man retired, my father retired, I explained to him, once you retire, we have the right to call you an old man. And so that's our term of endearment for Jim. I hope you're having a good time, old man, out there, because you deserve it. And anyone out there who thinks I'm being insensitive, don't worry, because old men aren't politically correct. They're the type of guys who can fart at the table and no one will even wince because they're the old guys. It's wonderful. And it's a new year. This is a new show, and we're starting off with a bang. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but China has a space rover now on the dark side of the moon, and this is not a sequel to a Pink Floyd album. That's right. We're in a space race, folks. I don't know how much more exciting it can get, but it's one of the best things that I heard this year. When I heard that they were putting a lunar module on the moon on the dark side, I knew that once again it's going to engage one of the best things that has ever happened to this country, and that's the space race. And because China is a fine economic enemy of ours, you're going to find that we're going to do an incredible amount of trying to catch up with what they've done. We're going to be going to Mars, and any of you who are worried about overpopulation, don't worry, because we have an entire universe to populate out there. Some of you people have been listening to my commercials for the show, and you've heard the term political therapy. I want to let you know that political therapy is one of the leading disciplines in the practice of pseudoscience. And just like any pseudoscience, I'm going to make sure that we have a lot of fun with it, and I'll explain to you what it is. As an activist for many, many years, I have found myself that when you get a little bit of success behind you, and we had a lot of success over the years in this county. We were successful in stopping the Bandon Marsh. I was successful in stopping the lighting ordinance in Bandon, and we've been very successful in stopping a lot of county taxes. So when you become successful in some of those areas, that you'll find that people will be always asking you for advice. They're always looking for a sympathetic ear. And by the time they contact me, they were somewhere in the stages of distress. Now, over the years, after talking to so many people, I was trying to put a label on this distress. And I was trying to figure out what it would be that's causing people to be so upset. And the first thing that I realized is that people haven't come to the conclusion that all governments lie. Yeah, folks, it's true. All governments lie. All politicians are lying to you. And even if they're not lying to you, it's up to you as the individual to find out that small grain of truth that they might be telling you, because, once again, all politicians lie. All governments lie. And the overreaching issue that I found that is causing everyone to be in so much grief and so much distress is collectivism. What is collectivism? Well, collectivism is a contagion. It's a contagion that's spread through promises of a utopian ideologies. It's a forced social conformity. That's the worst thing about collectivism. And you can see this, that we're having this on our college campuses today. You're seeing where conservative spokesmen can't go to colleges today because they don't meet that social conformity. And this is a conformity of feelings, thoughts, beliefs. And the reason I'm calling it collectivism, because collectivism makes up a lot of different ideologies. Socialism, fascism, communism, protectionism. They're all part of this net, the matrix that we have created for ourselves in this never-ending intrusion of government. And it's going to take a lot of stages for us to build up an immunity to this conformity, because collectivism is the death of individualism. And the resulting factor is the individual suffers from loss. That loss is a grieving process. And that's what I've learned after all these years, that I'm dealing with a lot of these people who are calling me, asking me about different issues. They're all calling me. They're at a different stage of that grieving process. And the first part of that grieving process is denial. Denial is and there's 5 stages, and denial is the one that helps us survive the most. This is the one where we think to ourselves that we can just ignore what's happening, that it doesn't matter that the government is doing what they're doing because they can't do it to me. They can't do it to me, and they can't do it to us as Americans, and yet the government keeps doing what they're doing. And so that's part of the denial, and of course denial takes us to the second stage of grief, and that's anger. Now, anger is very important. It's a healing process, and you got to be willing to feel your anger, even though it may seem endless. The more you truly feel it, the more it will begin to dissipate, and the more you'll begin to heal. In fact, you need to get out there, and if you're angry about any of these political issues, yell at your television. Scream at the wall, scream at the trees, holler, but whatever you don't do, don't go to the political meetings, don't talk to the politicians, and don't yell at them when you do that. And here's why. They want you to be angry. They want you to act like you're unreasonable, and they want you to seem like you're dangerously disgruntled. So politicians love it when you're at that angry stage, because then they can point at you and say, oh, there's no working with these people. So that leads to the third stage of grief, and that's bargaining. This is where we have all these endless compromises. This is the one that's my favorite. It is if we just give in on any of their conditions, they'll leave us alone. They'll just be happy and they'll go away. But you'll find out that collectivism doesn't work that way, and that individualism has to battle that every single day by not bargaining with these collectivists. Wayne Krieger, who was a friend of mine, he would call me from time to time from the floor of the legislature, and he'll say, Rob, I don't want you hounding me because I'm going to ask for this from the Democrats so I can give them that from the Republicans. And he was always making these compromises. And I tell Wayne, Wayne, you can't bargain with these people. You cannot bargain with the devil. And, of course, he would do it, and that what happens with a lot of people, they start bargaining with the government and people who are causing them problem, and that leads to depression. The depression sets in because you realize you cannot bargain with the soulless. That's when the grief starts taking over our lives. That's when it starts becoming too much for us. But it's something that, once again, we have to go through. And like I said, I'm always dealing with people that are one stages. They're either bargaining, they're in grief, they're in denial. And then there's the final stage of grief. The final stage is acceptance. The problem with acceptance is that I'm not willing to accept the death of the individual. And that's where collectivism has to be fought. And we have to know the difference between what can be changed and what cannot be changed. And there's a lot of things out there in life that can be changed. And I'm glad people do call me because I can help them with some of these issues. Some people, they may realize that they can organize a group and fight against a certain policy that the government has passed. They may be able to create a new law or change the law. But because people aren't always, they're involved and there's really no book to activism, they're really not sure where to go, and that's where I come in. And like I said, every time they call me, they're at these different points of grieving. And so the political therapy is basically the revival of individualism. Political therapy is the positive. It's where you can become the activist. And this is your choice. This is all up to you, because the activist is the political warrior. He's the rebel. He's the one who refuses to surrender. And that's the person we need to fight against this war of social conformity and collectivism. I will not conform, and I certainly will not comply. And I know later this year when the legislation starts that we will all have to face some type of battle against collectivism and government growing. And so I hope that going from here on out, that this show will be able to provide a platform for many of you out there who are going through these different stages and are not sure where to go with this. You can call up to the Rob Taylor Report and let me know about what's going on with you in your life as far as your political issues. I don't care about your personal issues. You leave your personal baggage at the door. I'm just dealing with the political. So when we go forward from now on, if you want to give me a call at 541-267-2124, we can take care of that issue for you. And the session is about to begin. I'm going to go into a break, and when we get back from the break, I have a very special caller for you.
Hi, Danny at Far West Tire and Auto here. Sometimes deer like to jaywalk, or even once in a while a basketball forgets to look both ways before bouncing across the street. When those moments happen, be ready for the stop with the Michelin Premier All-Season Tire, a tire design with more performance in mind. Far West Tire and Auto on Highway 101 Coos Bay. Always the right tire, always the right price.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at GibbsRV.com.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole in the Wall Gun Shop across from Cumion's on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
All right, I'm glad you're all back here. It's the Rob Taylor Report, and we're joining you at Coos County, and I've got a special caller on the line. When about maybe 10 years ago now, we were having a bunch of tea parties going on around the state, and we were protesting the health care that was being pushed by the president then, which was Obama. And one of the people who took up the banner and charged forward with it and ran against Peter DeFazio in House District number 4 was Janie Germain, and it was my great honor to be Janie Germain's campaign manager. Janie, are you there?
I'm here, Rob.
How you doing?
Good. Congratulations on your new show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Before we get too far, I just want to warn you that I'm in a very rural area here, and it's stormy tonight, so it's possible I could lose my signal. So if I disappear, I'll call back, okay?
So how's the water in Michigan? You're in Michigan, right?
Right. We're on the east coast of Michigan, and we're getting some really nasty weather tonight. We're getting freezing rain mixed with snow, and it's just ugly.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's a different, anybody who's not seen the lakes don't understand the nasty. We lost a lighthouse on the west coast of Michigan in Lake Michigan today because the waves smashed the lighthouse up and they lost it in the bottom of the lake. So we did lose a lighthouse in the storm today. So it is pretty ugly here right now.
These lighthouses, they've been around for a long time. It's amazing. You've actually, what happened? The lighthouse go into the water?
Yeah, all that's left is the base.
Oh, man, that is just too bad.
The waves smashed up the whole lighthouse. So it happens.
That happens,
We're not. These aren't little inland lakes that people think it is when they're on one of the ocean coasts. So
right.
Big.
So Janie, you were very active here when you lived here. Would you?
That hasn't stopped.
And that hasn't stopped, and I'm glad to hear it because as someone else who's very active, we need each other because there's not a lot of us. So it's good to hear that. But why don't you tell people about your experience as far as running against Peter DeFazio in House District 4?
It was an interesting experience, and I kind of went over it backwards because I had never been involved politically. I mean, other than researching my votes and that kind of stuff, I'd never done anything else. But when it came right down to it that year, there was so much anger, your second stage of grieving, that I had to do something. and it came down to, well, somebody needs to run, and okay, I guess it's me, so that's why I ran. And I think we did fairly well. I mean, it was kind of a convoluted thing. I ended up running under the Constitution Party the first time in 2008, because it has been 10 years already, believe it or not. It's actually almost 12 years.
Right.
But it had been because it was too late and for me to file as on the primary ticket, and so DeFazio actually ran a run-in campaign and won that election. But it was an interesting process. I learned a lot in those two elections in 2008, 2010. I made a lot of connections, which have continued to move me over to Michigan and get involved in politics here. So it was a very smooth transition politically. I was actually elected as vice chair of the party here 3 weeks after I got here. So I was asked before we moved if I would take over the party as chair. So it was kind of that. I knew them because of my run. Again, going from my election with DeFazio, that campaign was fun. We got to meet you. We met a lot of people. We had a fantastic grassroots campaign, and as you know, but many of your listeners may not, is we attract the attention across the nation because of the grassroots campaign that we had going.
Yeah, they were very impressed. We took almost nothing. It was a shoestring budget, and I mean, we just completely littered the whole 4th District with Janie Germond signs, and we got a lot of people involved with that campaign.
I think the first election we ran, we only spent like $29,000. The second election, we spent $49,000. But with, and we took I think we took 13% of the vote the second time around in the primary, opposed to the $500,000 that was spent against us.
Right.
But we still did fairly decent. I think we had a lot of support, and we did a lot. We were, I think, really very effective, and it was a stepping stone. Some people use politics and running and this kind of stuff as getting into office. I think for a lot of us, it's a way to get us prepared for the dirty work of campaigning, and that is running behind the scenes, which you've done and
right.
And I've done now, and it's actually more fun. I don't like being on the firing end of it, where everybody's aiming for you.
Right.
It's more fun being in the background, coordinating, making things happen.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. Every time I step out, people do, and people know this, and I think that's why they don't get involved, is that you make yourself so vulnerable that you can really take a lot of slings and arrows from the press, from your people, from, many different areas, and I know you experienced it. Well,
and it's physical. I mean, I was cleaning carpets one day, and I was a real grassroots candidate, and so I was cleaning carpets one summer day, and I had the doors open, and I turned around, and here's a couple standing in the middle of my dining room.
Yeah.
And it's just because when you run, you have to put out. Well, I mean, if you're doing it the right way, you have to put out your actual physical address and all that kind of stuff, so it's available to people. And it's frightening to have people come up. I mean, fortunately, she was a supporter, but what if they weren't? And
right.
So there's a physical danger there as well as the emotional danger. Now, I really don't care if people like me or not, so it really helps when you're in politics and you feel that way.
Right.
But there were a lot of other opportunities. People that I know that I've talked to personally that I got to know, like Rand Paul and oh gosh, I can't even think of people right now, but. Peter Schiff, who's on, Fox News,
right.
finance and that kind of stuff. And I know people across the country, governors and mayors and people in office and, talking to Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin. I introduced Sarah Palin over here when I was running the Trump campaign over here.
I remember that. And
it was just, opportunities that I never would have had I not run for office.
Oh, and I agree with you. People don't, when you can grow that base of not only your supporters, but your friends that you know throughout the community. I've got a question for you. And I know that in one of the primaries, we faced Art Robinson, and we lost to Art Robinson, and he continues to run. I'm one of those.
He still continues to run.
He still continues to run, and I've made up my grievances with Art, and I'm friends with him now, and I'm friends with his family and stuff. But the thing is I wish he would stop running, because I think that we could take that seat, and I think it's going to take a woman to do that. What do you think about that?
Well, at some point, whether people like it or not, and I hated this term when I was running, but at a certain point you become unelectable. He has lost was it 4 or 5 campaigns now against DeFazio. It's time to back out. I mean, I remember with the last campaign when I lost against Art, that DeFazio's team was so relieved that I lost because DeFazio was worried about my campaign because they were worried that a woman could take the seat.
And that's true, yes.
And so there's several there in Oregon that need to back out and let new fresh blood run. So I agree with you, Rob. It's got to be changed. And Art did well. Art spent a lot of money, but I mean, he's not making any ground anytime he runs. It's time to back out and give somebody else a chance to do something and support somebody else.
I agree. I wish he would support somebody else. And I know there's plenty of candidates who are going to be running. I think we'll be talking to one here in a few. And Janie, I want to thank you for calling. It was so wonderful to talk to you again. You're one of my favorite people that I've ever worked for, and it was an honor and a privilege. And if I could do it all over again, I would be there.
Thanks so much, Rob, and let's talk again offline, okay?
You got a deal.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and guess what that means? The Rob Taylor phone call from Michigan makes this show a nationwide show on its first call. All right, and I think we're going to be going to a commercial.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Think you can't manage the down payment it takes to purchase a new home? Think again. You could move into a $150,000 home with as little as $1,500 down with our 1% down payment option. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.19%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Every day people ask me, Jay, did I miss out? Have the rates gone up? The answer is no. Rates are still low, and it's a perfect time to refinance your home, especially if your mortgage rate is higher than 4.25%. If you'd like to lower your interest rate and save thousands of dollars in interest without starting over on a new 30-year loan, a Quicken Loans Yorgage is what you're looking for. With our exclusive Yorgage, you can choose a term that works best for you, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year Yorgage is 3.25%, APR 3.75%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember, now available in stores everywhere. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, so I have insomnia, but I've never slept better. And what's changed? Just a pillow. It's had such a positive impact on my life. And, of course, I'm talking about MyPillow. I fall asleep faster, I stay asleep longer, and now you can, too. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090. Use the promo code Hannity, and Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, has the special 4-pack. Now, you get 40% off 2 MyPillow Premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Now, MyPillow is made here in the USA, has a 60-day unconditional money-back guarantee, and a 10-year warranty. Go to MyPillow.com right now or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity, to get Mike Lindell's special 4-pack offer. You get 2 MyPillow premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows for 40% off, and that means once those pillows arrive, you start getting the kind of peaceful and restful and comfortable and deep healing and recuperative sleep that you've been craving and you certainly deserve. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. You will love this pillow.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, everyone. We're back again. This is the Rob Taylor Report, and I'm Rob Taylor, and we're going to go to the phones and talk to one of my favorite people, Tim from Tom and Gigs.
You got it right, buddy.
Yeah, I almost messed that up. How you doing there, guy?
Hey, good, man. It was good to see you last week, and glad to be on the show. It's awesome. Glad to see you have it. It's cool.
So what's been happening with you? It's been a while since we've talked with you.
Oh yeah, we've been running and gunning. We're doing all kinds of stuff and more new stuff all the time. Mainly, we're doing all our new front end equipment we got. Austin's just doing alignments like crazy and checking out front ends and see if we can get your rig driving straight down the road again, because everything wears out, over a period of time. And you may just come in and think it has a little clunk in the front. Pretty soon, you need axle U joints and hub bearing assemblies and all kinds of stuff. But if you want it to be right and drive right, all those things have to be tight and correct. So it can get expensive sometimes. But safety is a big deal. And with brakes and front end stuff, you want it to go down the road, for crying out loud, and you want it to be able to stop. So it's all those things need to be looked at when you're doing a lot of suspension work, and that's what it takes, is a good eye to look and see what's going on. And we'd like the customer come out and we show them what's going on and why it needs replaced. It's not like you have to take my word for it. We'll come and show you what's going on. And same way with exhaust work. You got a leak somewhere, have you come out, jump under the rig with me, and we'll get a flashlight, whatever it takes, and have you see what's going on and tell you how much to fix your rig.
Oh, man. It's and people don't realize at this time of the year that this is, the worst time of year that you would ever want to get to the point where you're broke down or stuck somewhere. So I would recommend everyone to go in and get their vehicle checked out, because there's there's a lot of times when you can get stuck out here in the middle of nowhere, because we live in the middle of nowhere. So I think that's very important.
Absolutely. No matter where you go, whether it's here or somewhere else, everybody has a place to go, but we try to inspect things thoroughly and get things done correctly, and that's the biggest thing. And using quality parts, whatever it might be, there's different options there as well. But yeah, just safety is a key, and we just got to do our best to keep people on the road and keep them safe.
Hey, the last time I was there, just last week, it was really cool. You had some of your guys were out there, and they were playing with one of the little remote control cars, and that thing looked so cool. I was looking underneath it, and I mean, the thing, it almost looked like a real vehicle the way it was built, the way they had that crafted. And you sell those at your place, right?
Oh, tons of them. It's just amazing. It's really a sideline for us on doing stuff, but it just, it was because of a customer wanting those things. A couple of those little cars back, 10 years ago now almost, and we got doing that, and it's just exploded into basically the largest RC shop on the whole Oregon coast, almost Oregon, I believe. But it just, it's a big hobby for a lot of families, and a lot of people bring their regular vehicles here for service, and they also do this stuff. So it's a, They do both. It's pretty cool. It's fun to see kids come in and enjoying and learning mechanical things. They just don't sit there on their iPhone all day. They're actually learning how to work on these cars, and they are a lot like real cars, just like you say. So
right.
It's a good thing. You never know when you might get a future mechanic, because it's hard to find those too nowadays. So.
Oh, no kidding.
But, yeah, but it's easy to find us out here at the shop. I mean, if you need any of that stuff, four-wheel drive stuff, aftermarket stuff, whatever, give us a call first. Give us a chance. We can probably more than compete on the Internet stuff, sometimes even beat it. All our RC stuff is the same price as Internet, so you can't buy it cheaper anywhere else. You might as well buy it here, where you get somebody that can talk to you across the counter, fix the vehicle if it needs it, or give you some service where you don't get it over the Internet. So it's always nice to shop local if you can, and we try to make it worth their while to do so. So you can get a hold of us out here at the shop, though. It's 135 South Shoneman, right behind the Moe's Car Wash here in Empire.
All right.
If you want to give us a call, 541-888-4660. And a little quote from Winston Churchill before you go. It says, if you are going through hell, keep going. So that's what we're going through here. Liberal hell. We just need to keep them guys under the control and keep voting some good people in. So anyway, that's my say. I'll leave you alone. I appreciate you being on and calling me, and congratulations on your show.
Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that, and we'll be back to you next week. I appreciate everything you do for us.
Yep, you guys are awesome. We'll talk to you then.
Before I go any further, I wanted to mention that the Oregon Department of State Lands is having the hearings on the Jordan Cove project this January. There's 5 different meetings. They're meeting in Klamath Falls on Monday, January 7th, Central Point on Tuesday, January 8th, Canyonville on Wednesday and January 9th. But more importantly, they're going to be having that meeting on Jordan Cove at North Bend this Thursday, this Thursday, January 10th, from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Mill Casino, and that's in the Salmon Room West, and the Mill Casino is located right there on 101. The thing that I want to let all of you know, whether you're for or against it, it's very important to get to these meetings so you can put your input in so that they have a better idea of what the public wants and don't want with this project. There's also going to be a rally opposing the Jordan Cove LNG project, and that's also at the casino, but that's starting at 4 p.m. So that's going to be Thursday, January 10th at 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., a rally against the Jordan Cove project. And if I remember correctly, I think we have another caller on the line. Joe, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, so... You know, it's funny. I just had Janie German, who on the phone, who also ran in House District 4, and I believe you ran for it last year. And are you running for it again?
Rob, I'm at 90+%. Yeah.
All right. I've been hearing your commercials on the radio. Have you been doing those commercials?
I have not been doing any commercials. I haven't ran a commercial since just before the primary in May. And so, our conversation the other day, I said, well, God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's a sign.
I think so. And then I got a Facebook friend request from a person. She was doing it on behalf of her mother who heard my ad on the TV. And I'm thinking, I haven't run any TV ads.
Well... maybe sometimes they get those, what they'll do is they'll schedule them on and not realize that they were old commercials, and then they'll run them sometimes mistakenly. But I thought it was kind of neat because I was laying last night in bed listening to Coast to Coast, and your commercial came on, and I thought, oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to get out there and support Joe Ray on this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the only contemplation is House or Senate, and I'm at 90% for the House.
Good. And you almost kind of, you could go and run for senator, but I think it's better to run for the House first because it's something that they run every 2 years, and it's something that you can get right back into immediately. It's almost like if you lose your first election, because it's such a short cycle, you're almost going right into your next election campaign if you're going to run for the same office, right?
Yeah, pretty much, Rob. And so this is my, am I losing track? Second go for the House seat. And 2 years ago, Art and I caught a tiny bit of your interview with Janie. And I'm going, who is that? I recognize that voice. Anyway, he filed, just like he did against Janie, the very last filing day.
Uh-huh.
So he filed the very last filing day. And this time he filed earlier, and in a five-way race, I came in right in the middle of the pack. And so this time around, I just have to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, and like you said, you're getting more name recognition, and I'll be honest with you. When I was talking to some of the people who are running the DeFazio campaign, they were definitely more afraid of a woman coming in and being able to challenge him than they were of the men coming in. And I thought that kind of showed a little bit of weakness in their hand,
Well, and that was one of the interesting things during the primary, because I don't like to play the gender card. I want people to vote for the candidate that they feel is going to do the best job for their constituents, for Oregon, for America, irregardless of the gender. On the flip side of that, when DeFazio put out a little blurb that 2018 was the year of the woman, I'm thinking, well, thank you, Peter. I am a female, and so yeah, I'm all about that.
Well, but, you got to use that when you can, and it's ironic that you're using their play on one sex or another to be able to take advantage of that. I like that.
Well, yeah, and it was interesting because some people really took exception towards it, but like you said, if he's going to put it out there, sure, I'm gonna take it. And as I had said to people, I guarantee you, DeFazio has never come up against a candidate like me. There's nothing that he can say or do that can hurt me. I'm a lot like President Trump. I really don't care what you think. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be straight up with you, and I'm not going to play games. I don't have time to play games. We've got a job to do for this country, and that's to save our republic.
Oh, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm really worried because the latest string of Democrats that came out, the Democrats, they used to hide from the word socialism. If you called them a socialist, they'd, oh, no, I'm a liberal, Now they're coming out and using that as a banner. What do you think about that?
Well, what I think about that is if you are going to take an oath of office to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and then you turn right around and you do things that are unconstitutional, I have a major issue with that because you're violating an oath, a promise, your word.
Right.
And so that bothers me a lot. And so whether somebody is liberal or progressive, when it comes to their own personal values, that's their total right to do that. Total opinion. I honor people's rights to their own personal opinions, but once you become an elected official or an appointed official whereby you're taking the oath of office to defend the Constitution, then you better do what the job description says.
I couldn't wholeheartedly agree with you more, and I want to thank you for calling the show. I do appreciate that so much, and we're going to have to talk sometime in the future when you're running for office, okay?
We will, Rob, and I will shoot you a quick message just as soon as I officially do it. Like I said, I'm planning on doing it before midnight tonight.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rob. Have a great day, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. And any of you out there who's ever been a regular listener to the Jim Bai Show, one of the great things is that he used to have a contest, and I'm going to continue on with that tradition because a wonderful restaurant owner of a fine food eating establishment here, McDonald's. He's a local person who lives here. He has 4 of the restaurants. He has the one in Reedsport, the one at the Walmart store, the one in North Bend, and the one in Coos Bay. Well, we're having a giveaway, and if you are the third caller on the phone, you can win at 1 free small McCafe beverage, 1 free dessert of your choice, 1 free breakfast sandwich, and a sheet of buy one, get one free for several different meals. And once again, if you're the third caller, please call in, and we'll get right back to you at 541-267-2124. Give me a call.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, they'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on? He said, I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, because your car is what we're all about. We do it all.
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
For 20 years, the Oregon Firearms Federation has been Oregon's only no-compromise voice for gun rights. While other organizations who claim to speak for gun owners made deals to bargain away your liberty and property, office stood face-to-face with the gun grabbers in Salem to protect your rights. But there's never been a more dangerous time to be a gun owner in Oregon, and we need your help. To become part of the fight for Second Amendment rights and to sign up for free legislative alerts, please visit our website at OregonFirearms.org. That's OregonFirearms.org.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, everyone. Once again, if you're listening, it's the Rob Taylor Report. We're trying to make things happen here and get in touch with people who basically are looking to get through those political issues that you're dealing with every day. I want to make a quick announcement that if you happen to be in Washington County, I don't know if you all heard about what's happening in Washington State. They just had a horrible law, a gun law just passed there, 1639, which will set up a whole new criteria of owning guns. There's so many different aspects of this bill. I don't even want to go into it right now, but I wanted to let you know that some of the counties are getting together, and they're going to try to do in their counties what we did here in Coos Bay, and that's pass one of those Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances. Well, we're having a meeting next weekend, actually this weekend, in Skamania County, Saturday, January 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and we're also going to be having one in Klickitat County from Sunday at 10 a.m. in Centerville Grange, and that's in Centerville, Washington. And the reason that we're going to be doing that is because we're trying to bring what we did here in Coos County, and we're trying to take it to the Washington State area and get them to pass those same similar laws so that their counties would be a sanctuary county as well. I just got news. I think we have another caller on the line. Max, are you there?
Hey, Rob. Good work on the new show.
Well, thank you. So what's up, Max?
Well, we've got the same problem in Bend here actually it's going on 70 years. There's been multiple attempts to establish a swimming pool here. The latest iteration started about 10 years ago, where basically it's a bunch of people who want to have a swimming pool for their own use, but on the other hand, they want to set it up in such a way that us taxpayers are supporting it and paying for it. So to me, it's a boondoggle in favor of a special interest group.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And what really upsets me about this whole plan is that they're all going out there and getting all excited because there's a person out there who has offered $1.5 million, I think it is, for the pool if they die. $2.5 million, which is maybe, a year and a half worth of pool budget?
Well, let me explain something to you. I went to the meeting of the pool pushers, and here's what they have in mind. They have in mind that the $2.5 million will be kept in reserve as a kind of contingency fund for anything that might come up. So what they are expecting in the meantime is to have the taxpayers and donors and other people come up with the money to build this pool. The 2.5 is supposedly going to be kept in reserve, and in the meantime they want to use every angle, and they're trying it, to get the thing built without touching that $2.5 million.
Wow, what a deal for them, isn't it?
Well, here's the rude reality. They seem to think that the $2.5 million is going to protect them against lawsuits if something were to happen at their pool. And numerous people have pointed out that in the case of a child drowning or a molestation or any of the other things that can go wrong with the pool, and that's a lot of things, $2.5 million will fly past in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, that's hardly nothing in the world of lawsuits, right?
Oh, no, that goes quick.
Now, I know that Bandon, they usually have their meetings on Monday, which would have been tonight, but they're having their meeting tomorrow on January 8th, which is weird because that's Elvis Presley's birthday. I don't know who works on Elvis Presley's birthday. I don't, personally. That's one of the holidays I celebrate. But if you get a chance, I want everyone to go out to the Bandon City Council meeting. That's tomorrow and January 8th at 7 p.m. in the City Chambers. That's City Hall. And they're going to what they're going to do is after every time they have a vote, they have to have a resolution to codify the vote. And so they're going to be passing a resolution certifying the election, which defeated Measure 6172, the voter approval required for a city to expend funds on the pool. And that's going to be voted on tomorrow, correct?
Yes, but there's a con job behind this, Rob.
Uh-oh.
If you look at that measure, 6-172, it's worded in such a way that it says that it's preventing the city from spending money on the pool, on the operation and maintenance of the pool. Okay, so this assumes the pool is already built.
Right.
But what it leaves open-ended, is city support to, it doesn't say this, but it's obvious, to build the pool, i.e., the infrastructure necessary to service the pool, and probably outright payments and donations to the actual structure of the pool. So we're talking, I'm guessing, $1 to $3 million somewhere in there for these various things that they have conned us into saying yes to. See, the idea, they got us to vote yes, thinking we were voting yes.
Right.
The city will not spend money on the pool. But it's not, it's the operation and maintenance of the pool.
Right.
It says nothing about building the pool and the extensive infrastructure that it will take to establish the pool.
And as you know and I know that they have $500,000, $500,000 setting in urban renewal area for that area sitting aside that is dedicated in the urban renewal plan for any construction of the pool, and they can get away with it because the urban renewal agency is a separate agency from the city council, so the vote doesn't even cover that agency.
Correct. And so what part of their con is to create what they call matching funds.
Right.
So they'll be trying to match that urban renewal money, and so there's $500,000 right there.
Well, so everyone needs to get out to that meeting. If you voted against this pool, and you've had a chance now twice to vote against this pool, the city council has voted once unanimously against this pool. So if you want to get out there tomorrow night on January 8th at 7 p.m. to let them know that you're kind of disgusted with the fact they're even discussing this whole thing, that would be a good idea. And the other thing you want to look for is that the city's also passing a resolution for the Coos County Board of Commissioners to format a citywide transportation district. They say this is going to be a non-taxing district, but you all know where that leads. Thank you, Max, for joining us. I appreciate it. All right. Now, just like everything else, these issues come and they go so quickly that we're going to jump from the abandoned school pool meeting to the smart meters meeting that's going to be happening soon. And I think that we have Amy on the line. Amy, are you there?
I am.
Hey, Amy, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I am telling you, I am having a great time. This is my first show for the first year, and it's really thrilling. I'm glad you called in.
Good way to start out the new year.
I agree. I know that you had contacted me, and you asked me because you wanted to run an initiative in the county of Coos so that you could make sure that people could opt out of their smart meters. Is this correct?
Yes, well, opt out. You can opt out, but you have to opt out with. It'd be good to opt out without having to pay the $36 a month fee.
Right.
Yeah, and even a lot of people who, like some of the other public utilities. I think it's Lincoln Public Utilities. They didn't even have the option to opt out. So, and some people didn't get notice, so they came home to find smart meters on their houses. So if they wanted to now opt out, they would also have to pay an additional fee of $169 to have a non-radio frequency just a regular meter put back on. A
regular analog meter. And the thing is that I'm normally a person who works from my house, and I know what goes on in my house. And at some point in time, without me knowing, they were able to come to my house and my rental, which is next door, and replace the meters with smart meters without even me knowing. And so they're pretty sneaky about that.
They are very sneaky. And a lot of people did not even get notification, which isn't right. That's not right.
And so what we want to do in the county, and I full-heartedly agree with you, is, and I'll tell you the difference between an initiative and a referendum. What you're going to want to do is grab that law, that ordinance they just passed in Jackson County, and you want to file it as an initiative because an initiative is something that creates new law. Now,
okay, great.
Yeah, if the county would have passed the law and you don't like it, What you would have done is you would have been able to file a referendum which stops the law until you get enough signatures for about 90 days. And if you get enough signatures, then their law that they just voted on would go to the ballot.
Gotcha.
And so initiatives are very good because they're the offensive weapon. And by the way, that was Josephine County.
Josephine, right.
Yeah, and which is really good because I know the attorney down there, Wally Hicks. He's a really stand-up guy, and he's going to fight like a dog to defend it. He goes out of his way to defend people, and I know he's going to be specially defensive of this measure because the public utility companies is suing Josephine County for passing this ordinance. Isn't that correct?
Yes, and a public utility commission you think would have the public's wishes and rights in mind, but they're just pretty much, I don't know, maybe retired Pacific Power people or something, but they definitely are not doing. It says in their statutes that they need to be providing reasonable fees and protecting safety of the customers, which they're not doing in this case. So it's really ridiculous that they're taking this kind of stance on it.
And most of those people are appointed to those boards, so we don't even get a chance to vote on them.
Exactly. And now the state of New Mexico has a true elected public utility commission. The whole state was able to ban these smart meters from the state.
Oh, man, that is so wonderful. I'm from the state of New Mexico, and I'm glad that my home state stood up and just took the advantage and told them no to go, to take a hike. Well, Amy, I want to thank you for calling in. If you hear that music, we're starting to run out of time. Is there anything you want to tell people within about 10 seconds?
Okay, well, thanks. Just that we're going to be having a meeting on the 15th, January 15th, at the Owen Building in Coquille. This is an opportunity for the public to come in and voice their concerns to the commissioners. It's going to be a work session, so we really want to get as many people as we can to present their concerns about the smart meters, whatever they are. You'll have like 3 minutes for each person at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you, Amy.
The way talk should be heard, 630 and 101.1 FM, KWRO, Coquille, live on KWRO.com.
I'm Ann Cates. President Trump will address the nation tomorrow night to make his case for a border wall as the federal government shutdown continues. Correspondent Phil Mattingly.
Far from finding areas where to give, it appears both sides are firmly entrenched in not giving in at any point. The bottom lines are the same as they have been for weeks. Democrats saying, look, they're happy to have negotiations over border security, but the government must be reopened first. The president and his team making clear the border security negotiations come before the government reopens.
All the major television networks are carrying the speech. The closure is starting to impact the economy.
Museums and parks can't collect entry fees or sell souvenirs, and the Internal Revenue Service can't collect taxes. Then there's the cost of back pay for hundreds of thousands of federal workers who were furloughed and who must subsequently catch up on all the work that wasn't done while they were gone. Add to that the trickle-down effects a shutdown has on the overall economy when federal workers spend less on commerce, dining out, and other expenses. A shutdown in 2013, which lasted 16 days, hampered normal operations for the IRS, which typically brings in about $1 billion a week. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
North Korea's state-run media says leader Kim Jong-un has left for China. Correspondent Brian Todd.
Experts say Kim knows he needs the Chinese leader to keep goods flowing across the border between the two countries to sidestep sanctions. And Xi wants Kim to keep the dialogue with the United States going, believing it's in China's interests for Kim to drive a wedge between the American president and U.S. allies South Korea and Japan. All of this, analysts suggest, could signal a second Trump-Kim summit sooner rather than later.
More than 40,000 people are without power in California and Washington state after a winter storm knocked down trees and utility poles. 4.5 feet of snow fell at Mammoth Mountain in California. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 98 points, the S&P 500 up 18, the NASDAQ up 85. I'm Ann Cates.
It was her first concert, so we were nervous.
Well, Dad was.
And thanks to Total Wireless, we got her the phone she loved.
It's amazing.
On the nation's largest, most dependable 4G LTE network for a lot less than you'd expect. Now we can always stay connected.
Does it have to be always, Dad?
Hey.
You got this with Total Wireless. Get the nation's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network for $25 per line for 4 lines. Available at Walmart for an everyday low price. Total Wireless, total confidence. Please refer to the latest terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Ghost
Spilled your red wine? Quick, the Quicker Picker-Upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker and is 2 times more absorbent than the leading Ordinary brand, so you can get back on track quicker. Bounty, the Quicker Picker-Upper.
Kroger is tapping Microsoft to help create grocery stores of the future.
To counter big delivery operations like Amazon and Walmart, Kroger and Microsoft will open 2 pilot stores in Ohio and Washington State where customers can pair an app with digital shelves, letting them use technology to compare price tags, check out ads, and find their way straight to the right aisle. Kroger hoping to give shoppers who are buying more and more online more reason to visit an actual store and open some opportunities for a new revenue stream tied to advertising. I'm Jan Johnson.
Internet-connected smarts are creeping into cars, refrigerators, thermostats, and just about everything else in your home. CES 2019, the Gadget Show opening tomorrow, will showcase many of these products, including an oven that coordinates your recipes and a toilet that flushes with a voice command. I'm Ann Cates.
I used to leave voicemails for myself because the only one I could trust to get something done right was me.
Hey, you, it's me. Remember to order safety goggles and grab some milk on your way home.
But now I use Grainger. Grainger's got the technical support you'd expect from America's #1 source for industrial-grade supplies. They're in the business of helping my business, so no more talking to myself. Now I talk to Grainger, because when it comes to keeping your business running, Grainger's got your back. Call or click Grainger.com to see for yourself. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
To be a successful business owner, you can't afford to let things like legal issues get in your way. LegalZoom.com has put together a network of independent attorneys who provide legal advice, answer questions about running your business. And since LegalZoom is not a law firm, well, you'll never have to worry about expensive hourly rates. So go ahead, focus on growing your business. Let LegalZoom.com handle the legal stuff. Just go to LegalZoom.com right now, and for special savings, enter my last name, Hannity, in the promo code when you check out. Only at LegalZoom.com.
Are you looking to get out of your timeshare with a company you can trust? I'm Karen, owner of Lone Star Transfer. We have helped thousands of timeshare owners get out of their timeshare legally and ethically. We have an excellent track record with a 100% money-back guarantee. Call us today for a free consultation at 855-722-3166. That's 855-722-3166. Or visit us online at LoneStarTransfer.com. Let us get you out of your timeshare now.
Memory is tricky. You don't remember days, you remember moments. But when the old tapes and photos that hold your cherished memories degrade, or worse, you lose them, they're gone forever. Hi, I'm Nick Mako.
And I'm Adam Baselogger. 8 years ago, we started Legacy Box to help you preserve those irreplaceable moments by converting all of your old tapes, photos, and even film into perfectly preserved digital files.
Here's how it works. Load your Legacy Box with your old tapes, film, pictures, and audio, and send them in. You'll get them back in a couple of weeks on DVD or a convenient thumb drive, ready to watch, share, and relive.
We take care of everything and provide updates at every step of the process. Over 250,000 families have trusted us to preserve their memories, and we've been featured in Good Housekeeping, Parents Magazine, and USA Today.
Don't risk losing your memories forever. Order your Legacy Box today.
Visit legacybox.com/politics, and for a limited time, you'll get 40% off your order. That's legacybox.com/politics for 40% off. legacybox.com/politics.
Hi, I'm Eric, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is President of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn, on natural rights versus entitlements.
America was founded on the idea that human beings are born with natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. A person who holds this view of rights makes no demands on others except that they respect those rights. Today, however, many Americans talk about rights to a college education, state-of-the-art medical care, and even birth control pills. These are rights understood as entitlements, and a person who holds this view of rights far from making no demands on other people, is making claims on other people's money and resources. This understanding of rights not only sets citizens against each other, but it undermines the whole idea of natural rights.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To receive a free pocket Constitution and Declaration, go to constitutionminute.com.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hello and hi, everyone. I'm glad you all can join me today for my first show. It's my first ever show, and I appreciate everyone who's been calling in and joining in. But we're going to switch to a very serious issue. As many of you know, I was the chief petitioner who filed the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance back in 2015. And it was put on the ballot, and the citizens of Coos County passed that with 72% of the people voting for it, with I think it was like a 78% turnout, which was a really incredible turnout with a really good amount of voting on that. The thing is that we took that to the next level, and we went to several other counties, and this last November, we had 10 counties who had it on the ballot, and of those 10 counties, 8 of them passed the Second Amendment and sanctuary preservation, the Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance. I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself here. And 2 of those counties that didn't pass it was Lincoln County, which is a county a little bit north of us. And oddly enough, one of the second counties that didn't pass it was Jackson County, which was odd because we thought for sure we had that one right in the bucket. We thought we were going to win that one. So we're going to have to go back again. For a couple of different reasons. The Second Amendment Preservation Ordinance has a little bit of a flaw in it. And the flaw is that it allows our county sheriff to make determinations on whether a law violates an individual's right to keep and bear arms. The problem with that is that it conflates 2 different branches of government. The sheriff enforces the law, so he is the executive part of the branch of government, whereas the judicial branch decides the constitutionality of law. So we had a little bit of problem, and we of course wanted to fix that, and we got an attorney to write us a new law called the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance. And the difference between that one and this one is that the new law gets rid of the sheriff position, so he doesn't make those determinations, and it gives a directive directly to the county stating that they will not provide any money, resources, or any other services to uphold state or federal laws. And to help us out with that, and someone who's been very much involved with that, is Kevin Starrett from the Oregon Firearm Federation. And right now, I have Kevin Starrett joining me on the phone. Kevin, are you there?
I am here.
So, we had an interesting election, wouldn't you say?
I actually was quite fascinated by it. You know, when you consider that 80% of these measures passed with not a whole lot of campaigning going on and not a whole lot of money spent, and in some cases not even statements in the voter's guide. And I think what that says to me is that once you get outside of, you know, the real communist parts of the state, you know, Eugene and Portland and a couple of other places like Ashland, is that the people in the state, while they may not have the numbers that Portland has, really are tired of having their rights eviscerated.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, and I think the results prove us out. But the weird thing is you helped out with several other measures. I think some of them were the statewide measures, and they didn't have nothing to do with gun. One was getting rid of the state's sanctuary status as far as illegal immigrants, and one of them was to prevent them from creating new taxes, and both of those failed.
Well, we were not involved in those ballot measures. What we were involved in were the ballot measures, defeating the attempted ballot measures 43 and 44.
Right.
43 would, of course, have ended the ownership of all modern firearms and magazines. And 44 was a mandatory lockup law, which, while, you know, it pretended to be something protecting us, protecting children and protecting us from stolen guns, it was so incredibly badly written that in many cases literally made no sense. Right. So we got involved in defeating those, and fortunately we were able to prevent them from gathering the signatures. It was a lengthy and expensive process, but we were able to do that. And of course, we fully expect the legislature to attempt something similar starting at the end of January, absolutely they will be attempting to have a mandatory lockup, which, the mandatory lockup is going to say you've got to have a trigger guard. If the gun's not in the safe, it has to have a trigger guard or cable lock. Well, okay, if I put a cable lock on my gun, I also better put my bolt cutters in my safe, because that only takes 2 seconds to defeat.
Right.
And if they demand that I put a trigger lock on a gun, well, that's an extremely dangerous thing to do. As a firearms instructor, we are absolutely, we're so feel so strongly about nothing goes in that trigger guard unless it's your finger pulling the trigger. And there are certain firearms that, well, you put a trigger guard in any kind of pistol, it doesn't prevent it from being loaded. But if you put a trigger guard in certain kinds of guns, like single action automatic pistols, you can still load the gun, you can still operate the slide, and then you can just move the trigger guard around a little bit and the gun will still fire. So it's a recipe for disaster. It doesn't make anyone safer. If a person steals a gun, they have all the time in the world to defeat these things, and it typically takes 4 to 5 minutes.
Right.
Whereas if you're trying to access a firearm in a moment of danger, imagine a mom alone. She's got a crazy ex-spouse or a stalker. Someone's kicking in her door. She's got her kids there, and now she's got to go find the key, unlock the thing, load it. I mean, it's absolute madness. It does nothing to the people who are stealing guns, and everything to the people who need them for defense.
And what blows me away, this is just one of many laws we were discussing last night that is coming out of the state legislature. Could you tell us some of the ones that you've seen so far that they think they're going to be planning on putting out?
Well, I've seen a copy of one bill, and the rest of what I know is based on what they've promised. So the bill that I have seen is a bill that the intention is to shut down every outdoor shooting range. And the way they plan to do that is by saying if there's an outdoor shooting range, and by the way, they don't define shooting range, so that's really problematic. But if there's an outdoor shooting range and a round leaves the property and someone's hurt, then both the shooter and the range are strictly liable. Well, I believe that's the case already. So, we're responsible for what we do. But what they also want to do is allow, which they cannot do currently, they want to allow somebody to sue the city or county in which that range is located if the county hasn't shut the place down. Well, what incentive does that give to the cities or counties? They don't want to be sued.
Right.
So they'll have every incentive to shut down the ranges. And, I know there are fewer and fewer outdoor ranges available out there just because of the changing nature of the state. But I am, quite confident that, the range of which I'm a board member of, is in the city of Canby. It's actually not in the city. It's right outside the city limits. So the county of Clackamas, which now has a very leftist county commission, is going to have every incentive to just come down and say, well, you can't shoot here anymore. And the interesting thing about that would be is that if they shut us down, then there will be no place for about 12 different police departments to train in this area, because we are it.
Right.
And so the irony of the anti-gun movement is that they simultaneously tell us, well, you guys don't have enough training, and then they do everything in their power to make sure that there's no place to train.
And, the funny thing is that so many of these cities, they have built-in laws that protect them from liability. Say they allow someone to go swimming at a creek that's in the city and they hurt themselves. The city is indemnified from a lot of those liabilities, and it's strange that they would then want to take this law and then hang more liability on a city or a county, other than they want to stop us from being able to go out and shoot our guns.
Well, I think that's the only plausible explanation. It'll be interesting to see how, the cities and counties have lobbyists in Salem.
Right.
Will the cities and counties fight this because of their potential exposure to lawsuits, or will they just do everything in their power to shut down the ranges? Well, let's face it, unless you're in an extremely rural part of the state, an outdoor range, our club is over 100 years old. And obviously when it was founded, there was nothing around here. There were no,
right.
It was farmland. Well, that's not the case anymore. As Canby is getting to be a larger and larger city. And so there are going to be more and more developments around the club, and there'll be more and more people complaining, in spite of the fact that, there's a big housing development going up near our club. The people buying those houses have to state that they were informed that there's a club there, but that's not going to protect us. We know there's going to be lawsuits. They know they're going to complain. And, that one of the few things I think that could protect us is the fact that we're a training facility for so many police departments. But it's not going to prevent the litigation. And certainly, depending on the attitude of the county, it could easily be a question of them coming in and finding 15 different ways to shut us down.
Oh, man, and no kidding that, we would have to rely on those city councilors and those commissioners. We, at the grassroots level, as citizens, really are going to have to put a lot of pressure on these people so that they do get active and do go to the state and with those grievances. Kevin, could you hold on a second? We're going to go to a commercial, and then we'll be right back. Thank you.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms. Hole in the Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole in the Wall Gun Shop across from Cumyons on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice, pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at gibbsrv.com.
Hi, Danny here at Far West Tire and Auto. Do you feel like you're constantly on the go? From daily commuting, dance recitals, and weekend adventures? I'm sure your tires have never let you down, but that much time on the road can cause some wear and tear on your tires. It might be time to consider upgrading to Nokians. With the 50,000-mile warranty on select Nokians, you can hit the road in style. So stop on by Far West Tire and Auto on Highway 101 Coos Bay. Always the right tire, always the right price.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
We're here today, and we were talking to Kevin Starrett from the Oregon Firearm Federation, and Kevin was telling us some of the laws that we can expect, or some of the legislation we can expect coming out of Salem this year, and he was telling us about one that concerns firing ranges. Kevin, could you continue with that?
Yeah, it's really a matter of just incentivizing cities and counties in which ranges are located to shut them down. Of course, the other thing, we as I mentioned earlier, we're expecting mandatory lockup. There will be an effort to ban concealed carry in public buildings, meaning, obviously the Capitol, but any other public building. I am expecting an attempt to ban modern firearms and magazines. Whether they'll grandfather any in or not remains to be seen. There'll probably be an effort to require mandatory liability insurance for every firearm you own, something that's being floated around in New York right now. And a number of other things that really have no effect on safety or crime, but are just intended to harass gun owners. The Democrats in the Oregon legislature, they don't hate guns. They hate gun owners. And right. It's astonishing, the extent, the rage they have against people, especially people who live in rural parts of the state, because people who live in rural parts of the state are not as smart as they are and not as cool as they are, and they're basically just a bunch of bumpkins and rubes, and they're, the effort is to just do whatever they can to just crush these people, whether it be their firearms rights or regulations or eliminating ways to make a living, if it's farming, fishing, logging, ranching, whatever. And that really is how they feel. They really just feel that if you live outside of the metropolitan area, you're an idiot. And they'll obviously there's going to be efforts made to, which will probably be successful, to impose rent control statewide, which right. means that no one will have an incentive to build anything because they can't make any money off of it. And with the land use laws that we have, where there's so few places you can build to begin with, the House Speaker wants to make very high density housing everywhere, and in places that were zoned for single-family homes. Then she wants to impose rent control. I mean, it's like right. a perfect storm of stupidity. But the hardest-hit people are going to be the people who just the most independent people, the people who don't live in the middle of a big city. But I think that this is, every year for 20 years we've faced this avalanche of anti-gun legislation.
Yes, we do.
Nothing passed until 2015. Then when Bloomberg came to town and bought himself a legislature and they peeled off a couple of Republicans, now we have extreme risk protection orders. We have they have this moronic thing they close the boyfriend loophole. Like only boyfriends commit crimes.
Right.
So what they've done is they've expanded the number of people who are prohibited from having guns based not on a crime that was committed, based not on a conviction of anything,
right,
based just on an accusation that was unfounded. And it's the same thing with the extreme risk protection orders. You can have the police show up at your door, bang on your door, and say, we're taking your guns with zero due process, with zero proof that you've done anything wrong.
And you
just
know,
based on,
and my favorite part of that, when you talk about that, is not only do they come into the house and they take the person's gun, but then they leave that person there with the people that they may suspect, calling them and turning them into the police without any help, any psychological or psychiatric help. That's the amazing thing with this.
And that's one of the things that people know so little about. I mean, the fact that, and it's an excellent point, because the person whose guns have been confiscated knows that it was someone in their household who did it, because that's the rules, family member or a household member. So theoretically, it could be a family member who doesn't actually live there, but typically it's going to be someone who lives in their house. So now if that person is genuinely dangerous, he's still dangerous, but now he's been humiliated in front of his neighbors, and nothing's been done to prevent him. He's still in the house with his family. He's still in the house with his accusers. And if he's genuinely suicidal, the cops come and say you have 24 hours to turn this stuff over. Well, 24 hours is a long time if you want to kill yourself. It's also a long time if you want to kill other people. And on top of that, there's no real way, in most cases, for the cops to know how many guns that person has. But here's an interesting and little-known fact. If you're accused of having some mental issue, and that's why your guns are being taken away, if you were to go get an assessment by a mental health professional, and that person says, no, this guy is fine, that assessment is not allowed to be used in your defense. It's crazy. I mean, when they were passing this law, my senator, Alan Olson, said, well, look, if somebody's really suicidal, shouldn't we be making some minor attempt to get them some help? We have to make some tiny little effort to contact a suicide prevention hotline or a mental health professional. The Democrats would not even consider that amendment. That's how serious they are about just attacking gun owners.
Right.
That's all this is about. And look, we've already had one murder take place as a result of this. It's a guy in Maryland. Cops are banging on his door at 5 o'clock in the morning. And as a lot of people would do, he answered the door with a gun in his hand, and the cops shot and killed him. Well, I guess in that respect, the law worked fine, right? Because he's not a danger to anyone anymore, is he?
Right. You stop that danger right there. And like you said, that once again shows how much they hate gun owners.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's open season on us now. And who do we thank for the extreme risk protection order in Oregon? Well, a Republican, Brian Boquist.
Right.
And, Brian has been acting increasingly erratic in the last couple of years. And he's basically been co-opted, as have several formerly pro-gun Democrats, like Brad Witt and Brian Clem and Jeff Barker. Jeff Barker is a former state cop, former Portland cop, a Marine, has been a chair of Judiciary Committee, either chair or co-chair of Judiciary Committee for many years, and had been always, in spite of the fact that he was a Democrat, had always been pro-gun. And in the last 2 years, he was neutered by Tina Kotek and forced to change his position. And now this year, in an extremely unusual move, they pulled the rug out from under him, took away his chairmanship, and gave it to Jennifer Williamson, a militant anti-gun Democrat from Portland. And, Jeff said, well, I didn't know this was coming. I don't understand. I mean, it's just not how things are done there.
Right.
But I guess that just what little shred he had of moderation was so annoying to leadership that he had to be punished. And that's what Kotek does. She punishes people. The one thing that I find real interesting now is all the turmoil that's going on in the Capitol as a result of the report from the Bureau of Labor and Industries saying that there's this rampant sexual harassment going on, and who they're accusing of it. Democrat David Gomberg. Tina Kotek is accused of telling Sarah Gessler, the Democrat senator who first leveled these charges, that nobody likes you. When she had a conversation with Peter Courtney, he got so mad at her he stormed out of the room. And so, the Democrats are absolutely really sensitive about this thing because the report seems to indicate that leadership there turned a blind eye to everything. And I think that's, fascinating, the disarray and the hypocrisy of what's happening with these people. But the reality is they are in power, and they can do anything they want now.
Yeah, the Republicans don't even have to show up. And in fact, I normally, at the beginning of these sessions, I'll go and talk to my representatives because I'm interested in one issue or another. And this year, I almost felt, well, why even bother going? Because they're just going to be audience members sitting in a room. Don't you feel that way yourself?
Well, what you just said, I think, is really interesting. You said they don't need to show up. And you know what? That is the one thing they should do. They could really rock this thing by refusing to show up. And the Democrats have walked out. When they were in the minority, they just walked out and went into hiding. Now, there are legislators, like the former leader of the House, the minority leader of the House, Mike McLean, has, I have not heard him say this myself, but I have heard it said that his position is, well, look, these are who the people wanted. They got elected, so they should get what they want. Well, somebody said that for sure. But the fact is that if you're a Republican legislator, your constituents didn't vote for this, and your job is to protect those constituents. And They could really stop a lot of this stuff by simply not showing up and there not being a quorum.
That would be wonderful, and I hope they take your advice on this. You've seen what was coming out of Washington, 1639. That was, I was wondering who wrote that, and when I started looking into it, it was actually written by the Attorney General of the state of Washington, and they've got all new bills that are in the legislature now. Do you see that bill 1639 or forms of it coming here to Oregon?
Was that the ballot measure that banned?
Yes.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, they want to prevent draft age Oregonians from owning firearms. So we can put them in the military, give them machine guns, and send them across the ocean to kill other people, but they're not allowed to defend their families here. And that very bill was promised to us by formerly pro-gun Democrat Brad Witt, who shows up at NRA dinners and now is determined to just rake over the coals every person. Listen, if you're really worried about 19-year-old boys, take away their driver's licenses, for crying out loud.
No kidding.
But we let these people drive. We let these people vote. We let these people get married. And certainly the death rate of teenage boys as a result of automobiles is far higher than anything that happens with firearms. This is a knee-jerk reaction to one incident, the shooting in Florida. But it's just an excuse because, why don't we use the Las Vegas shooting to ban guns from anybody under the age of 56?
No kidding.
It's just absurd. And so, they promised us a ban on things like bump stocks. It looks like the feds have taken care of that, although, as you know, we are part of a lawsuit to overturn that.
Right. And that was a presidential mandate, unfortunately.
Yeah, which I think both you and I agree is completely illegal, aside from being meaningless. To ban something that does nothing, it's a piece of plastic, means you cannot possibly defend the ownership of a rifle, which actually does something. If you're going to defend the prohibition of a piece of plastic, and the scariest part about that, you've probably seen the same comments I have, where gun owners are really split on this, with half of them saying, "No, this is another erosion of our rights," and the other half saying, "Well, these are stupid devices, and who needs them, and it's not worth fighting over," except for one problem. The reason they're illegal, or will be in 80 days or something, is because by the stroke of a pen, Donald Trump said these things are machine guns.
Right.
They're not accessories. They are machine guns. That's like me holding up an apple and saying, this is a jet fighter because I said it is, and you can't have it. And if that's the case, then you can't possibly defend the ownership of almost any firearm, certainly not a modern firearm like an AR, which, because of the fact that you can fire an AR without an accessory, as quickly as you can fire it with a bump stock. It's a technique. It doesn't need to have a product. If you can do that, then isn't that a machine gun? And shouldn't that be banned?
And I completely agree with your argument. Before we go any further there, Kevin, I've got going to have a contest here, and then we're going to go to a commercial. And if you would, can you hang on until after the commercial?
Certainly.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the second contest of the day, and this will be for the third caller. And what we're giving away is from another wonderful restaurant, one of my favorites, Lucky Star, which is on the corner of 101 and Newmark. 101 and Newmark. I must have had a problem there. But they're giving away their house special, and this includes barbecue pork, sweet and sour pork, fried shrimp, spring roll, pork fried rice, and pork chow mein. And I can tell you right now, you win this meal, and you'll be eating very well for that evening. And if you want to be the third caller at 541-267-2124, you can win that.
In just a fast few minutes from right now, you can have life insurance for up to $500,000 without taking a medical exam and without leaving your home. We're Fast Life, and we're going to make this easy and fast. Odds are that you don't have enough insurance, or you're paying way too much for what you got, or you don't have any, and that's not good. Listen, nobody likes to think about life insurance, but we're grown-ups now, so call and protect your family. 1-800-254-9567, or go to fastlife.life. You've got insurance? That's great, but you may be able to get more coverage and pay less than what you're paying now. And with no medical exam, you can get it right over the phone, and that's fast. Faster than a speeding bullet? No, but fast. And we also said we make it easy. So call and get quotes, then submit an application over the phone, and that's it. And that's easy. Get approved, and coverage starts instantly. And that's fast. Faster than the speed of light? No, but fast. Call 1-800-254-9567 or go to fastlife.life. Fastlife.life. It's revolutionary. It's Fast Life.
If you run your own business, when you're not on the job, you're on the road. In your van. Signs that say detour and do not enter are just plain bad for business. Well, here's a sign that's great for business. It says 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance on Mercedes-Benz Sprinter or Metris vans. Powerful, capable, and affordable. That's Mercedes-Benz Van Power. With pioneering safety technologies and low total cost of ownership, Mercedes-Benz vans are the right choice for your business. Check out the full lineup of Mercedes-Benz vans starting at just $25,995. 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance. That's van power for all. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Starting ad price refers to base model Metris Worker Cargo Van. Excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep fee. Please see your dealer or go to mvvans.com for further details and exclusions.
Are your medical bills piling up due to cancer or another serious illness? You are not alone. Many people face this challenge. Here's how Coventry Direct can help. You can receive an immediate cash payment by selling your life insurance policy. If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be eligible to sell your policy, even a term policy. To find out if you qualify, call Coventry Direct today at 1-800-510-2800 to speak to one of our policy specialists. That's 1-800-510-2800. The cash you receive from selling your policy can be used to help pay medical bills or whatever you choose to give you financial security and peace of mind. Call Coventry Direct at 1-800-510-2800 or visit us at coventrydirect.com. Coventry Direct, giving you the cash you need when you need it most. Coventry Direct is a marketing company and will refer qualified policies to a licensed entity.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining me back here. We're speaking with Kevin Starrett, and we're talking about some of the legislation that's going to be coming down out of Salem in this next couple of months. And I think all of you need to be paying attention because this is going to affect you directly if you do own firearms or firearms accessories. And we were just talking about the presidential mandate where Trump has made it illegal to own bump stocks, virtually turning anyone who owns those into a felon once it becomes illegal to own them. And, Kevin, if you want to go on from there, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I think that's really a great point, is that Trump signed something, which, or as an acting attorney general signed something, which they probably have no authority to do, but attacks the people most likely to support him with no effort to, give a person an opportunity there was, no discussion about it. It's like, you are now a felon for owning something that the ATF specifically told you could own. And then there were some people who were saying, well, I'm outraged because I'm not going to be compensated for it. I'm like, who cares about that? That's the least of it. The fact that your property can be stolen and you can now be considered a felon because you acted within the law because somebody fantasized that something is what it isn't.
Right.
And that's a really, really dangerous thing. And look, there's a lot of people who have been very, very supportive of Trump, and they're very reluctant to criticize him for this. They believe he's playing some kind of fourth-dimensional chess. This is a very, very dangerous precedent. There's nothing to stop anyone from saying, look, somebody sent me a photograph yesterday or the day before. It's an odd little pistol. I'd never seen anything like it.
Uh-huh.
It was a 22. It had 2 barrels, and both barrels fired with one pull of the trigger. Now, isn't that a machine gun?
No.
I mean,
kidding.
anything that fires more than one round with a single action of the trigger is, in the eyes of the feds, a machine gun. And if anyone who's looked at the ATF's regulations, they are so inconsistent and so bizarre and make so little sense that it's almost impossible to know when you're complying with them. And as a matter of fact, there's a device called a pistol brace, which attaches to larger pistols like AR pistols, and it's not intended to be a stock. It's intended to just allow you to fire a bigger gun with one hand. But when they look very much like a rifle stock. When they first came out, the ATF said, nope, these are not stocks. Therefore, if you attach it to a gun, you haven't violated the law. You haven't turned that pistol into a short barrel rifle. It's perfectly legal. Then they came back and said, wait a minute. And people bought these things based on that, and people bought them when they came with the letter from the ATF saying they were perfectly legal. Then the ATF came back and said, well, wait a minute. We've changed our minds. And we said, if you put one of these things on like an AR or an AK pistol, if you put it up to your shoulder, you have now manufactured a short barrel rifle, and that's a felony.
Right.
Okay. Now, so I put one of these things on a gun I own, and I go down to the range, and some friend of mine is there and says, hey, can I try that? And he understandably puts it up to his shoulder because that's what it seems to be for. Oh, he has just now manufactured a short barrel rifle. Well, then they came back and said, well, maybe we weren't right about that. Maybe if it just is an incidental use against your shoulder, that's legal. So nobody ever knows what is and is not legal. Matter of fact, the ATF sent out a letter, of which I have a copy. If anybody's skeptical, I can send them a copy of this, stating that a shoelace is a machine gun.
Because you can tie it, yeah.
Patently absurd, right?
Right.
It just makes no sense at all. And so a belt loop is a machine gun. And since people can bump fire rifles with no modifications whatsoever, does that make their fingers machine guns? Does that make, I mean, it just makes zero sense. And unfortunately, now that Trump has climbed on board, there are 2 lawsuits that I know against him, the one that we're involved in and another one by Firearms Policy Coalition. Hopefully we'll be successful, but we certainly have no guarantee of that.
Right.
We've become a country where we're turning into like kind of this tyrannical democracy where, you know, either the majority rules or somebody somewhere in the government just says, this is what I want, this is how I feel, and the laws don't matter. If they really wanted to ban this device, there was a way for doing it. Congress writes the law, and they write it, and typically they screw that up too, but at least there's an opportunity for debate to say what this thing is and why it's illegal, and, you know, change the regulations. But the fact is, bump stocks do not make guns machine guns, and they just changed the meaning of words so that for whatever political capital the president thought he was gaining by it,
right,
that he could do that, and it makes zero sense to me. But I think it's very troubling.
And I, you know, you talk about the political capital that he was gaining. I think he lost more than what he gained because some of his longtime supporters, any inch that you give on the Second Amendment, you lose them.
Oh, there's no question. And as I said, there are some people who are just so invested in Trump that they cannot believe he's done something wrong. Well, the fact is nobody's infallible. Nobody makes the right decisions. And look, you know, I love my children, but when they were little kids, if they did something wrong, they got disciplined.
Right.
And I don't think we can roll over. There's a lot of legislators in Oregon who I think very highly of, but there are times when they do things that I say I simply can't support that. And in my position, where we are, what our job is to inform gun owners of what's happening in their legislature and in the U.S. Congress. I can't afford to turn a blind eye to that stuff. And look, I mean, there were people who, when the governor's race was going on, I got an email from a guy who'd been a longtime supporter of us who said, if you don't endorse Newt Buehler, you will never get another dime from me. And I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know what? I'm not lying to the people who support this organization.
Right.
You know, Newt Buehler was an anti-gun leftist, and that is a provable fact. He was also an arrogant liar. And you might hate Kate Brown, but it's not my job to sugarcoat what other people do, and that's just the way it is. And I think that's the mistake that people make is, you might like somebody's position on 10 different issues, but if something's really important, if they're doing it wrong, that's not acceptable.
And at this point, anything that has to do with firearms or firearms accessories, I think we're at a point where we've compromised so much that we just can't compromise anymore. And these people and I get a lot of this flack, they'll tell me quite often that, they don't want to take away your guns. They don't want to disarm you. But you know that they do because you've worked with these people. I've worked with these people, and I've talked to the people behind the groups who come out and will tell you they want to take away our guns. Do you see this as, what I mean?
Well, listen, for years that's what we've heard from the anti-gun people, that we're paranoid, we're overreacting, no one wants to take your guns. But then you look at the ballot measure that was written by the people who said that, and that's exactly what it does. It takes away your guns. And I should tell you, if you didn't already know, the sanctuary sanctuary ballot measure that you were talking about earlier, the sanctuary state for firearms, that has been filed in Columbia County as of today.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad Chris got around to doing that. And I'm imagining in the next couple of weeks we'll have about a half a dozen of those filed. So I'm pretty excited about getting that going.
Yeah, I think that is really going to be a game changer. And it's been my position for like the last 7 or 8 years that the only thing that will save this state is the counties saying no. And obviously there are some counties that will say yes to everything Portland does. But most counties in this state vote Republican. They don't have the population size to outweigh what's going on in Portland. But they shouldn't be held hostage. This is the reason that we have it's the reason we have an electoral college, which we're not allowed to have on a statewide level.
Right.
But that's the only thing that's going to protect us. And many years ago, but probably 8-10 years ago, I was invited to go out to Baker City to talk to a group of patriots, and that was my speech, was how important it was for the counties to start standing up and protecting themselves against the tyranny of Portland. And when I left, I walked out, and I left the buildings, walking down the street, and this woman followed me out and said, "Kevin, I understand what you're saying, but can't the state just crush us?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but that's what they're doing now.
Right.
So what is there to lose?"
And what's really important is, a lot of people don't know this, is that Oregon is a home rule state, and that if your county has a home rule charter and only 9 of them do, that charter is on the same playing field as the state constitution, and I think we need to start utilizing that.
Yeah, and I think that people need to understand that there's a lot of people who put an awful lot of faith in the Oregon Constitution, because the Oregon Constitution's protection of Second Amendment rights certainly appears on its face to be stronger than the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
But the dirty little secret that people don't know about is that under current Oregon court decisions, there is not a single firearm that is protected under our Constitution unless it existed at the time our Constitution was written.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
And so, that the article, I guess it's Article 2 or Article 1, whichever article our Constitution is that protects gun rights, doesn't protect a whole lot if the legislature wants to say we're banning, modern rifles. At this particular juncture, our Constitution is not protecting them.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope that we can get you on in the future, and we'll keep you coming on and keeping us apprised of what's happening in Salem. I appreciate it.
Great, and I'm glad you're on the air, and I think you're going to do great stuff.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a commercial, but at the end of that commercial, we're going to have a special presentation from Jim Bice called Food for Thought.
Before you choose your adventure, make sure your 4x4 is modified and ready to reach uncharted areas. Leave your cares behind and all the work to the experts at Tom & Giggs Automotive. From diesel power to towing access, the Bay Area's top 4x4 performance headquarters will help you get ready for wheeling and down the trail. Pick up all the necessities and the I've got to have it's on the showroom floor. Get your rig adventure ready the right way with Tom & Giggs Automotive, your 4x4 performance headquarters, 1 block past the Boom & Y in Empire, and online TomandGiggs.com.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, They'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, "Man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on?" He said, "I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, 'cause your car is what we're all about. We do it all."
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
And now, here's some food for thought from Jim Bice.
According to the talking heads in the corrupt fake news media, last year, 2018, will be remembered as a bad year for President Donald Trump, led by wild stock market swings, the nothing burger of the Robert Mueller investigation, and the high turnover of officials in the Trump administration. As of today, the government's still shut down. There's talk of impeachment by the new Democrat-controlled House of Representatives. Nearly every day, there are sensational breakthroughs, scandals, and bombshells that race through social media and the internet, only to be forgotten by the very next day. The truth is that aside from the Washington media hysterics, 2018 was a very successful year for President Trump and America as a whole. In December, for the first time since 1973, America became the world's largest oil exporter. Since Trump took office, the U.S. has increased its oil production by nearly 3 million barrels per day, largely as a result of fewer regulations, more federal leasing, and the technical advancement of hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling. In addition, the United States remains the largest producer of natural gas and the second greatest producer of coal in the world. The scare tactics of the last half-century, energy crisis, peak oil, oil embargo, those no longer exist. This near-total energy self-sufficiency means the U.S. is no longer held hostage by the Middle East, forced to pay exorbitant political prices to guarantee access to imported oil, or threatened by gasoline prices of $4 to $5 a gallon. The American economy grew by 4.2% in the second quarter of 2018 and by 3.4% in the third quarter. American GDP is nearly $1.7 trillion larger than in January 2017 and nearly $8 trillion larger than the GDP of China. In addition, President Trump rolled back over $1.3 trillion in expensive and unnecessary regulations. This is money that was, in effect, stolen from American taxpayers. In 2018, unemployment fell to a near-record peacetime low of 3.7%. That's the lowest U.S. unemployment rate since 1969. Black and Hispanic unemployment hit an all-time low in 2018. The poverty rate is also near an historic low, and household income showed the first increase since 2000. There are about 8 million fewer Americans living below the poverty line than there were 8 years ago. Since January 2017, more than 3 million Americans have gone off so-called food stamps. Overseas, lots of bad things that were supposed to happen simply didn't. After withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord, the U.S. exceeded annual percentage of carbon reductions of most of the countries that are still part of the agreement. North Korea and the U.S. did not go to war. Instead, North Korea stopped its nuclear testing and its launching of ballistic missiles over the territory of its neighbors. And despite all the dire warnings from the Democrats and the media, NATO and NAFTA did not quite implode. Rather, allies and partners agreed to renegotiate past commitments and agreements on terms more favorable to the United States. The Middle East is still in chaos, but it is a mess that's far less important to the U.S. for a variety of reasons. Energy-wise, America is not dependent on oil imports from Mideast monarchies or hostile Islamic states. Strategy-wise, The new issues are not Arab and Islamic cultures versus Israel or the United States.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
All right, I want to thank Jim Bice for getting that to us. Every week we're going to play something different from Jim Bice, where he's going to cover a different issue. And I'll tell you right now, you're going to get something from Jim that and you used to get when Jim used to do his show, and that's a lot of prep work. He used to do an incredible amount of prep work for this show, and I mean, he put 20, 30 hours into it before he would come in every week and do one of these shows. I try to do as much as that, but you'll never get as much prep work out of me as you got out of him, and that's because he's old school. That's right. And so when someone's a little bit more old school, they have a tendency to delve into it a lot deeper than maybe us younger guys will. And plus that, I'm working on a couple of different things that qualifies as activism. One of the things that I want to talk to you folks about, and I hear this all the time. People ask me, how do you get involved? Where can I get involved? And how can I make a difference? There is a group out there called Oregon Citizens Lobby, and you can go to their website at oregoncitizenslobby.org. And these folks, I've been with them for about 10 years, and what they do is they will have you learn how to read and analyze bills that are coming out of Salem. Now, the legislative organizational days this year is January 14th through the 17th, and then the legislative session is from January 22nd through to June 30th. So we're going to have a long time with these guys in office. And the thing about, if you were just listening to Kevin Starrett talk, the thing about the legislature, it's not the bills that you see them pass. It's the bills you don't see coming to fruition that are probably some of the worst bills that they have ever created. It's the ones that don't get turned into law. And if you are a volunteer who reads and analyzes these bills, the reason we do this is that a lot of times before this group existed, you would have a measure go up, whether it be a gun measure or a tax bill or whatever it be. There would be no opposition to it, even though there was opposition to it. They just didn't get up. They didn't speak. They didn't analyze the bill. So what the Oregon Citizen Lobby does is that they have people analyze the bill, especially if it's one that we're opposed to or we have great support for, so that we can put it on the record that someone went to these meetings, someone listened to the information, and somebody was opposed or for this bill. And the reason we want to do that is because in future years, the same laws always come back around, because we all know history repeats itself. And when these bills come back around, if it's a really bad bill and somebody was in the legislature complaining about it, anyone who sees this bill coming into future legislative sessions can take that bill, look back, see that somebody was opposed to it, and then bring that forward to the next legislative session. And so it builds an argument where there would be no argument that somebody could rely on. And once again, this is the Oregon Citizens Lobby, and you can volunteer. You can be an advisor. That's someone who analyzes the bill, analyzing the bill for Track Their Vote. That's the website that they have. You can also be someone who just calls the legislator and on the posted bills, such as anyone who sends out a firearm bill or a tax bill. They would give you information and points to make to this legislator, and you could give them a call and let them know where you stand on that. The other one is giving public testimony. This is something else that's very important because, like I said, when I'm up fighting a bill and I know this bill had been presented in past legislative sessions, it's good to be able to look back and see who fought against this. So if you go up there and you give public testimony instead of just sitting in the audience, that also goes on the public record. And I can also see that somebody took the time to travel all the way to Salem to oppose one of the bills that came up. Some of the other positions that are available for this group is write an email to your legislators, writing letters to the editor, and writing testimony for bills. And you can also join a Twitter group that they have. And this is something that I encourage everyone to do, because everyone is always asking me, Rob, how can we get involved? How can we do something that is going to actually make a difference? And without your participation, these guys in Salem, they believe they can do whatever they want. And the last couple of years, small business has been yoked with $1 billion or so in taxes. And coming up this next legislative session, they have a whole bunch of new taxes that they want to put on businesses. Private business taxes. Get this, on property taxes. There's 3 bills right now sitting in the legislature that would make your property to be taxed at the real market value. Now, this would cause regular property taxes to go up for most businesses 50 to 60%. And I want you to think about that. If you're a business owner, you're sitting on your piece of property, and your taxes are going to go up 50 to 60% next year, I think you're going to want to know about this. So this is another business property tax, and it would be HJR 3, HJR 4, and HB 2167. And those are the type of bills that the Oregon lobby, citizens lobby, get into. Another one that they're trying to push is more business property taxes. It eliminates the discount for one-time payment on property taxes on businesses, and effectively a 3% increase on property taxes. Another property tax increase on businesses. Then there's the massive business filing fee increase. HB 2146 raises the minimum tax on S corporations from $150 to $1,000. That's a tenfold increase on taxes right there. Business income tax increase. HB 2155 and SB 211 makes it harder to qualify for a reduced personal income tax rate that is allowed for certain pass-through income. The other ones is a lodging tax enforcement. They're going to try to make it much easier for local governments to get into your paperwork. So I recommend that if you want to get involved, you want to have effect, that you join up to the Oregon Citizens Lobby, and that's at www.oregoncitizenslobby.org, and let them know that you want to get involved. And if you hear that music, we're getting ready to get out of here. And I want to thank every single one of you people who joined in and gave us a call. Please call back next week with all your political issues, because the session will be in. And I want to thank Bill, who is our producer and stayed through. I want to thank our sponsors, and I want to thank my beautiful wife. And until next time, I want you all to take care. Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.
Finally, the way talk should be heard. 630 and 101.1 FM. KWRO, Coquille, live on KWRO.com.
Policy. I'm Ann Cates. President Trump will make his case for a border wall tomorrow night.
The president's tweet says he will, quote, address the nation on the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border. End quote. Stressing the humanitarian aspect of it first is a reminder of the border camps